Please welcome Vanessa and Nimmo.
No heckling, it's Ruby newbies. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm part of the developer program at MyOb, and I'm as a career changer into tech. And I'm in my last few weeks of boot camp at Coder Academy with some people over there. I started learning to code in 2017 and came to my first Rails Girls Day in January of 2018. It was pretty magical. My code buddy Celia and I dived trustingly into the Rails guides, blithely making mistakes and breaking things, knowing that we had loads of mentors in the room to help us out. At first, we were a bit embarrassed by making mistakes, thinking they were silly mistakes and the mentors would be annoyed at fixing all these silly mistakes, but every mentor was delighted to come across an error, delighted to read an error message, delighted to fix the error, and even more delighted if they had to go and get Rob to work out how to fix it. We had a ball, but I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. Since then, I've made a lot of attempts to work out what's going on behind the scenes, mostly because I break things and I need to fix them, but sometimes just because I really want to know. The first question was, what is Ruby magic and what is Rails magic? And then I went to the source code and it's all Ruby magic, so that's cool. But you can't just have magic in general. I'm a nerdy individual and I need to know what sort of magic. Transfiguration? Charms? Who knows? Cats. I know, right? You gotta have cats. It's important. Lately, the specific type of magic seems to be helpers. Like fluoride in the water, they are everywhere. You can't get away from them, and nor would you want to. Today, we're going to trace our way through two of my favorite helper methods. But first, what is a helper? A helper is a method you use to take repeated logic out of the views, a way to keep your code dry. You put the logic in the helper and you call it in the view. It also means you can swap out that logic anytime and only change it once, not every single time all through your views. Rails has a whole lot of fantastic built-in helpers that we get to use but we don't see. So to get a feel for a helper, we're going to go and write one. I can escape that one. Beautiful. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. This is something that I built at Coder Academy with my buddies Simon and Corey. It's a school project where we were getting mentors and mentees to meet up. It's not live, you can't join it, which is sad, but you know, it does mean that we get a whole bunch more cat pictures. Yay! So what this site does, because it's connecting people, is it displays a profile pic. But because we find it really annoying when if we sign up for something, we have to include a picture, we decided that we'd give people the option of going with the default. You'll be unsurprised to learn the default is a kitten. It's great. But that means that whenever we go to display this profile pic, if I haven't uploaded an avatar, we have an empty source attribute in our image file, and that's quite upsetting. Everything breaks. So we had to, in the view, say, does this person have an avatar attached and display that, or display the default? This means we've got some logic in the view, perfect place to take it out. And let's have a look at the other place that we see it. We've got both of those places. Perfect place to take it out and put it in a helper, which we did over here. Here's our mentor's helper. So here's where we call it. This would be an image tag. It would have an, if there's an avatar, display it. If there's something else, display that. But instead, we just call this helper, and the helper does all that for us. If it's got an image, make that image tag. If it's a default, make that image tag. And so where we need it here, we just call it. And where we need it here, we just call it. And if we built lots of pages, we had lots of places, we'd still only have to write that logic once, and it's very exciting. So that's make your own helper. But there are, as I said, lots of helpers in Rails. The Rails hides for you. If you've got RubyMine, you can click and it takes you down. But if you're using VS Code, you have to rely on friends to do that for you. But we're going to talk about resources, because I was trying to write all of the routes out individually for my HTTP request just to practice, and it kept breaking. I didn't know why. So we're going to break it now, just because that's fun. Break things, and then unbreak them, and then break them again, and unbreak them again. So it breaks because we don't have this mentor path option. So the mentor path Rails helper goes away and writes the URL that you need and renders it on the HTML page. Very, very handy. Let's go back and unbreak that. And then we'll have a look, because you don't want to leave your code broken. It's like trolling future you, not very kind. And let's go back here and have a look at those different versions of the rendered HTML. So if we don't have resources, and it's broken, we get /mentors.5, and that's not how the internet works. It doesn't work. If we do have resources, and we use the mentor path helper, /mentors/5, very handy. And we also have another helper, mentor URL, which gets us the full path, very, very handy. So that was the first one that I was super excited to understand and use, resources. And there's one more that we'll talk about, and that is form helpers. How does Rails know if it's create or update? Same form partial, it just pops up and off it goes. Turns out it's about whether or not it's a new instance of the active record base class. Super handy. And again, whether it's a new instance or an existing instance, Rails goes ahead and renders the HTML slightly differently. So you have a new booking class or an edit booking class, new booking ID or an edit booking ID, also an extra hidden field with the value patch. Now here's where tonight's magic runs out, because I don't know how Rails knows to go and look for that hidden field. But even the API docs say that it's okay to have a little bit of magic still in your Rails. We're going to leave that there. Maybe one day, maybe you'll come up and tell me afterwards. All of those are good options. But that's all of the helper things we're going to discuss. This is all the things that we discussed. So our helper methods, we're taking logic out of the views, putting them somewhere else so that our views can be beautiful and clean, and the helpers help us to render lovely, helpful HTML. The Ruby on Rails routing guide is a really good entry point if you're looking for this stuff. And there's a couple of little lines about helpers that kind of stuck in my brain and help me kind of decide to go down the path. And of course, the API docs are a little harder to get into, but they're also fun. A little harder for bedtime reading. So thank you very much. And you should come to Rails.
Will you be taking questions?
Sure. No hard ones.
Do we have any questions? Or was that so comprehensive that no questions are necessary?
It's always a good option.
Let's go with option B. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank